posting on Truth Social that trade discussions with the EU were going nowhere. And as a result, he is recommending a straight 50% tariff on the EU starting on June 1st. Now, I don't know what that means, recommending a straight tariff of 50% to who? Is he recommending that to the Senate, or is he saying that this is something that is going to be enforced as of June 1st?
Well, Europe's down now.
Yeah, Europe is down significantly. So is the U.S. equity futures. Right now, Dow futures are down by about 650 points. And by the way, we started relatively flat about 2 hours ago when the show started. NASDAQ futures now down by close to 400 points, and the S&P futures are down by about 92. We should probably do that in a percentage basis at some point, too.
That is CNBC reporting on Trump's latest whim. His latest, hey, I feel like we're not in enough aggressive trade wars right now. Let's get it cooking. Welcome, everybody, to the morning broadcast. I hope you're doing absolutely wonderful. It is Friday. Wow. Can you imagine? And Trump got up early on this Friday morning and felt like we didn't have enough economic problems. And so it's hard to know exactly how to cover these announcements because he makes them and then he rescinds them and then he makes them and then he rescinds them and he makes them and rescinds them. And this also comes in the context of him saying he had made all of the deals already and that he had 200 deals and that everyone was giving great progress in their negotiating. Now he's saying that, as you saw reported on there, the lack of progress being made with the European Union means he wants to jack up the tariffs on them. Again, thank you all for joining us live and listening back on podcast platforms and on YouTube. If you become a member by clicking the join button on YouTube, I will read out your name as we go along and we'll be reading super chats. So here's the post. I do love how that CNBC host mentioned, what does he mean recommend? Recommend to himself? Because he's the one who would do this. The European Union, Trump wrote, which was formed for the primary purpose of taking advantage of the United States on trade, false, has been very difficult to deal with. They're powerful trade barriers, VAT taxes, etc., etc. Now, this is the notable part. Our discussions with them are going nowhere. Therefore, I'm recommending a straight 50% tariff on the European Union starting on June 1st, 2025. There is no tariff if the product is built or manufactured in the United States. Yes, we know how tariff works. Then thank you for your attention to this matter. That was early this morning. Now, again, I don't know if he was just bored, if he's gone too long without escalations in his trade war, and he just kind of gets off on that. I really don't know what this is about, but he's saying June 1st, he will be jacking up those tariffs or recommending that that happens. As the host said, we don't know to who, because he would be the one doing it. Data Ray, thank you for becoming a member early in this show. I appreciate it greatly. Then he also wrote, I have long ago informed Tim Cook of Apple, or as he once called him, Tim Apple, that I expect their iPhones that will be sold in the United States of America will be manufactured and built in the United States, not India or any place else. If that's not the case, a tariff of at least 25% must be paid by Apple to the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And this happened because, like we warned and like Trump doesn't understand, he keeps saying if I tariff out the wazoo China, for example, then all of the manufacturing that happens there will come to the United States. Now, even with pretty high tariffs on Chinese products, you still sometimes have supply chains that would make more sense still relying on China. But the step, as we heard in announcements from Apple that I broke to you before, which was very exciting, Apple's announcing they're going to reduce a lot of their manufacturing in China. Woo, go America. Wait, oh no, they're bringing it to India. Oh no. And so he's learning about that, which is that there's so many places that will be more affordable to produce these products before finally being forced to the United States, where then it would be much more expensive and consumers would have to pay more. And sometimes that's a trade-off you're okay with. Sometimes it's a trade-off you're not okay with. And here, Trump is saying that on specifically Apple products, you might have to tariff them into submission. Now, on Trump's reconciliation bill that we've been giving a lot of time to, it's the big story here. The defenders of it are struggling to make their case. Before playing this clip as an example, I do want to thank Barbara Lopez for becoming a member by clicking the join button on YouTube. I appreciate it greatly. You now get the bonus show. We have lots of fun on the bonus show. But here's Scott Bessent about the reconciliation bill that they keep just blatantly lying and telling us that it reduces the deficit when obviously jacks it up. So that we've addressed before. But listen to his argument, because they're trying to do the trickle down thing all over again.
You mentioned economic growth here in your comment there. This bill adds trillions to our debt. How is that acceptable to this administration?
It doesn't. But it doesn't, though. But Caroline Levitt told me that it doesn't. That's how. That's seemingly all they have, is just, it doesn't. That's just all, they just say that. I think Bessent will be a little bit more tricky here. Let's watch.
You mentioned economic growth here in your comment there. This bill adds trillions to our debt. How is that acceptable to this administration?
Well, again, you're referring to the CBO scoring, I believe, which is tenure scoring, and it's DC style scoring. So we think that we can both grow the economy and control the debt. And what's important, Bill, is that the economy grows faster than the debt. So what I would tell your viewers to focus on is what I'm focused on, is what Secretary Yellen was focused on, is what is the total debt to GDP? Because we can grow our way out of this. That if we change the growth trajectory of the country, of the economy, then we will stabilize our finances and grow our way out of this.
So it sounds kind of nice, and he wears glasses, and he has a nice tie on, and he has a little American flag pin, and so you're inclined to believe him. Scott Bessent seems like a smart guy. Maybe he's right. Maybe these tax cuts will generate enough growth that the real key metric, the debt to GDP ratio, that gap will be closed, and we'll see a better ratio, and we'll all be happy. That all sounds nice. The argument that's being made there is, again, the trickle-down thing. And it's interesting because it sounds nice until you realize they literally sold us the exact same thing with the 2017 tax bill. And we didn't see the escalated growth to catch up to the escalating debt. We didn't see that. We didn't. We did not. We did not. Please, I mean, I don't know. That just didn't happen. And it was the exact same promise. Even before the pandemic, the exact same promise didn't happen. And then, not even to mention going back further to the same broken Republican theory about stimulating growth, supply side stimulation of growth, when it just does not happen, which is a part of why you so consistently see, regardless of where you stand politically, the data is absolutely crystal clear on this. The Democratic administrations oversee, and blue states oversee, generally better, stronger, increased growth economies compared to the Republican counterparts. Moving on to the most corrupt thing, or one of the most corrupt things we've seen in American politics. Trump's just write me a check and you can come have dinner with me. He had his dinner last night, so that's fun. We're all wishing them the best. And Chris Murphy first adds some context, then we'll talk about that dinner.
It is estimated that 40% of Trump's entire net worth today is due to these two crypto coins that he just launched months ago. So this has been maybe the most lucrative venture he has ever endeavored to begin. All of this money is going straight into his pocket, and he is, as we've seen, trading favors, trading U.S. policy in order to get paid. That is different than a contribution to a campaign that can only be used for political purposes.
It's unbelievable. Personal money. There is something corruptish that feels wrong about this idea that special interests could donate a lot of money to a campaign of someone and then say, you know, I really care about this issue. I donated you that money. I hope you, right? But it is a whole nother level to give personally, not to the organization that spends on someone's behalf for campaigns, personally enrich someone, which is what the crypto venture does. You just buy stuff, and that is money Trump is making. You buy meme coin, Trump is benefiting from it. And then you get to literally meet with him or sway him, which I saw that, let's see here. Yeah, there was a report about this meeting that Trump had at his Virginia property. It was a spectacle, the New York Times writes, that could only have happened in the era of Donald J. Trump. Several of the dinner guests in interviews with the New York Times said that they attended the event with explicit intent of influencing Mr. Trump and U.S. financial regulation. So they give him a bunch of money, they get a dinner, and then they influence him. And Trump is particularly influenceable. He's kind of renowned for randomly changing his stance on things because somebody told him. Like, you remember whenever he got asked about his nominee for Surgeon General, and he said, "Oh, Bobby told me he liked her." And you just, what? I don't really know her, but I think she's the most qualified ever, and also I don't know her, and also Bobby just told me that we should do her. And that was his argument. And he does get influenced just by the last person in the room. And so, as corrupt as it is a smart move on behalf of the people who want to influence him to buy their way into having meetings with him. Unbelievable. Then you have another Trump administration official here trying to defend it.
I want to just ask you about this dinner tonight. President Trump is going to host hundreds of people who purchased millions in his meme coin. Today, you heard the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, say that he's doing this in his personal time, at his private club. But tomorrow, the top 25 people who spent the most money on his meme coin are eligible for a private tour at the White House.
Okay, yeah. Okay, you got him. Fine. It's his, yes, he's getting paid by people to meet with him, but that's in his personal capacity, not like the president, the White House, right? This is on his personal property. Just think of it as two separate Trumps. Trump's having dinner with some people over here who gave him a bunch of money, and then he's being president over here separately. Okay, what about the fact that they're going to get a tour of the White House? Arr, you got me. Darn.
The top 25 people who spent the most money on his meme coin are eligible for a private tour at the White House. Are you comfortable with this dinner and these tours, which are likely to go to a number of wealthy foreigners?
Everything that the president's done has been carefully scrutinized by White House counsel, and
he doesn't even believe it.
That's okay.
It's so good. Everything that the president's done is going. Look at him. It's just life has slipped out.
I feel like I'm dying inside.
Yep.
The foreigners?
Everything that the president's done has been carefully scrutinized by White House counsel, and they've given him the guidance that that's okay, and that's enough for me.
So, but what do you say to Americans who are watching this and who are concerned that a president is sort of using the office to enrich himself at the business and having this dinner with foreigners who are giving all of this money, and the White House is not even releasing a list? Do you understand why Americans are concerned? What do you say to them?
Look, the American people voted for President Trump because they know that he puts America first. He's putting America workers first. It's why we're getting the $1,700 to overtime workers, the $1,700 for people earning tips. And then we haven't even started talking about all the people who aren't going to get taxed on their Social Security. And so everybody in America knows that President Trump puts Americans first.
Well,
that's why they voted for him.
There are still Americans who are watching that and concerned. They want to know who was there. They want more transparency from this White House. But Kevin Hassett, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it. And I do remember going.
I'm so mad at Americans. Now, that doesn't answer the question because Hassett didn't really address your question about people who are concerned with that. But he's just saying, oh, Americans voted for Trump, so everything. Not even a majority of Americans, but enough to make Trump win the election. That they voted for him, and so that's enough for me. And the White House counsel is thoroughly, and that's enough for me. Just not even buying his own BS. But I am upset that is kind of it isn't, but it's true that Trump got elected in a free and fair election. I don't want to get back to that, but I haven't let that go, America. I just want you to know. Meanwhile, Blonde Bombsheller sent 10 gifted memberships. So generous of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Vile for the super chat as well, saying, hi, Luke, you think this is whining by Trump due to the recent deal between the EU and Greenland? I think so, since he's so narcissistic. Maybe so. But, Vile and Blonde Bombsheller, have you ever thought about this?
Says men should not drink out of straws in public or at all.
I don't drink out of a straw, brother. That's what the women in my house do.
I don't drink out of straws, brother. I don't do any sucking in my life.
Okay, I'm going to throw up. I'm throwing up. You're making me throw up.
My grandma always told me if you're a man, you don't do any sucking, not on straws, not on other dudes, no sucking. So I just avoid sucking altogether. That's okay, I guess. Drink however you like, but I like straws. Do you know why I like straws? Because I like nice, icy, cold drinks. But I don't like whenever you can't sip the water properly because the ice is blocking the entry, you know? And so you can put a lot of ice, but then the straw sucks out the liquid. Unless it's a boba, then sometimes it'll suck up a solid, and then that's a disaster, as we reviewed in a different show. So you got to be careful with that for sure. Jake Paul was a YouTuber and, doing social media stuff. As Bill Belichick would say, Instaface. I just love that. And he now this is Jake Paul. Jake Paul. There's Jake Paul and there's Logan Paul. Logan Paul is the older one or the younger one?
Older one.
Older one. Okay, so this is Jake Paul. And both of them have, since their social media days, I mean, they're still on social media, but now they're very much into boxing. And Jake decided, listen, I have done many things. It's now time to get into political commentary. He's coming for my job. And Jake, I'm not going to go fight people. You don't need to get into political commentary. Let's stay in our... No, I'm kidding. And here, he very confidently... Think about if you're a man, okay? Imagine. You're a man. You don't suck out of straws. You're a man. And you watch Jake Paul and you don't know much about politics. But then you hear him saying this as he's about to, you would believe him because he's saying it so confidently. And this is the type of echo chamber that we're talking about where young men are getting misled into believing that somehow it's manly or something to support the party that is worse for their investments, worse for the economy, worse for our infrastructure, worse for our education, worse for the environment, worse for etc.
I don't think people are willing to accept that they're wrong, and then they stick with their pride. The reason why 60 million votes for Kamala, 66 million for Trump, that's still a fucking close spread. And even something that they hang their hat on all the time is like January 6th. And it's like the one sentence debunk to January 6th that they always bring up is Trump tried to get 10,000 National Guard troops to be there at the Capitol that day, and it was turned down. That eliminates the whole entire January 6th debate, and it's like, no, let's bring that up. Let's hang our hat on that. Let's keep on doing these things. And that's where I worry is like there's just too many people caught up in their pride and not willing to be like, oh, I was completely...
There's so much projection. It's insane. By the way, how are you going to make this point? How are you going to make this point, Jake? While misstating the votes that they got. And he wasn't even close. What did he say? 60 to 66 million? It was 75 to 77. Jake. But that's okay. And then on January 6th, is that PBD? That's just this whole vibe. I don't like the camera placement. I don't know. Clean, beautiful Cole would have done better.
Clean, beautiful Cole.
Yeah. Trump said he offered 10,000 National Guard troops to Pelosi, and she now admits that she turned it down, referring to a video Pelosi's daughter took that day where Trump claimed Pelosi took full responsibility. The facts: Trump has repeatedly and falsely claimed that he offered National Guard troops to the Capitol and that his offer was rejected. He has previously said he signed an order for 20,000 troops to go to the Capitol while Trump was involved in discussions at the days prior to January 6th about whether the National Guard would be called ahead of the joint session. He issued no such order or formal request before or during the rioting, and the Guard's arrival was delayed for hours as Pentagon officials deliberated over how to proceed. The acting defense secretary at the time confirmed that there was no order from the president. I just think that people get caught up in their pride too much. and they like won't admit when they're wrong. Have you ever thought of that? Have you ever thought about politics could be better if people would admit when they were wrong? I agree. I do. No, I really agree. I also, this you, Jake?
What's going on?
What's up, Floyd?
I can have what I want.
What you mean with the camera?
Oh, you got camera too.
So what you supposed to be?
I'm just working, man.
Okay, let's skip forward.
Since you're
These
fine.
scurries.
Since you lost, what's up, Jake?
I don't know what words are about to be used, so let me just, there we go. Off he goes. He ran from, who was that? Do we know? Was it his Mayweather fight? I think it might have been Mayweather. He ran from Mayweather like he ran from the truth. Oh.
Legalized comedy.
Now, I fully acknowledge 100% he could break all of my teeth out of my face. Okay, I am, however, after all, a straw drinker, man. So I'm a little bit of a lower level, a lower caliber. But I don't know. I just think that maybe fact check yourself before you say stuff like that, because it's misleading, it's dangerous. And the other thing is, it's funny how he was saying people get too caught up in the pride. That's you. Like, people like him, I think, explicitly admit they don't know much about politics, but then will go on to say, but I think Trump is going to save our country. And it's just, is that the right, that's a strong statement, going to save our country, but you admit this isn't really your area of knowledge, which is fine. No judgment, but be mindful of that. And then it ends up misleading a lot of people because, again, I don't know how folks will feel by the end of this term, but we're really seeing what all the straw drinking, lib, soy boys were warning of, which is that I think good men, would probably want the economy to do well. And Trump's doing everything he can to undo the progress that was made on that as Biden. You know, when you're driving... Moving on from that, let me see if there's anything I need to read, though, before we do charge forward. And, of course, there is, because y'all are amazing. Soren, thank you for the super chat. Matt Lambert said, I have a big mustache. Straws make it so I don't get liquid in my mustache. Thank you, Matt. Exactly. I hope you have a tasteful mustache, because mustaches, here's what I think of mustaches. They're sort of like, let's see. They're sort of like me and margaritas. Like, they can either go really well or really, really poorly. So hopefully it's tasteful, because mustaches can get out of control. That's just what I'm here to say. Don't let your mustaches get out of control. I'm working on mine, as you can see. You know, when you're driving and you're not doing anything wrong, but it kind of feels like you are when you pass a police officer, you know, or they are behind you for a super long time and you're just like, I'm not speeding, but I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I just have a guilty conscience. I don't know. But sometimes then you see them breaking driving rules and you're like, come on, this is just not fair. Sometimes I think inside of us, all of us have a little mini version of this woman.
Why the doesn't he get a ticket?
I can help you talk to somebody.
He didn't use his turn signal!
Man, can I please call you an ambulance?
Yeah.
So I have to follow every law, but that can leave the scene without a turn signal?
Right? Right?
What the hell was that?
Sometimes I feel that way. I'm like, what? You can do, I just barely made one mistake. I was just going like 30 miles per hour over the speed limit. And then you got all up on my grill about speeding. I mean, I was only going 100 miles per hour above the speed limit. What's the problem? No, not that. But it does the sort of like pent up rage when you feel so uncomfortable because it's not their fault. Like sometimes a police officer just happens to be behind you in traffic, but you're just tight the whole time. And I'm like, do I have my seatbelt? I'm doing everything right, and they indicted me, as Trump said. Thank you to Bob Larson. Thank you for the super chat. Selena, who said, I'm a certified straw sucker. Nice. Jordan said, I'm Canadian and not over the election as well. I used to visit the U.S. every year, not anymore. Yeah. It's brutal. Hey, in this reconciliation bill, one of the not terrible things, among many terrible things, is I guess they're calling them, Trump baby bonds, or like baby investment accounts by MAGA. Or they had an acronym, it was like something that spelled out MAGA for these baby accounts. And apparently this is an idea that Democrats have had before too.
Further evidence the political world is upside down. Republicans appear to be stealing plays from Hillary Clinton's playbook. Their new domestic spending bill includes a $1,000 savings account for all newborns. It means for the babies to use later in life for investing. It was first called the MAGA account, but ultimately they went with Trump accounts. Liberals might call them Hillary accounts.
I like the idea of giving every baby born in America a $5,000 account that will grow over time. So when that young person turns 18, if they have finished high school, they will be able to access it to go to college. Or maybe they will be able to put that down payment on their first home.
She's a socialist, a communist, a dirty communist. Oh, Trump's doing it. I love that. Let's see. I would have to think about it more, as with many policies. But I mean, sounds about right. You're investing, starting a little bit of money. Maybe it's economically stimulating in the meanwhile. Then people have a little extra money to spend on things. I'd be curious to study what people spend it on, but most likely could be not too shabby. Not too shabby. This is interesting. Batya Ungar-Sargon was on CNN again. And to her credit, I've bashed on her a lot. To her credit, she did admit the Trump meme coin dinner was not a good look. But her argument is, I can look past that because Trump's doing everything great.
What this is the appearance of something. So somebody like you who's not convinced that he can't be bribed would look at this and say, look, I have no reason to believe him. And that is true. But what I'm balancing that with is everything else that he's done that I consider to be just epic, and only he could have done it. Like the 10% global tariff that we now have that's generating billions of dollars in revenue, deporting gangbangers.
Oh. Batya. It's weird. Most of, Scott Jennings, I just don't like him. I wouldn't want to hang out with him. I don't like him. I wouldn't want to talk to him. I just don't like him. Batya, I feel like there's something endearing, but at the same time, so bad. She's just bad at making these arguments. I can look past his corruption because he did 10% global tariff and he's getting out the gangbangers. Which I'm still waiting for feedback on if that's still a word we use.
Global tariff that we now have that's generating billions of dollars in revenue, deporting gangbangers and Hamas supporters, defunding Harvard, securing the border. I mean, this is stuff that is
true.
So significant that it really does outweigh this appearance, especially given what I know. I will also this.
All right, y'all look at this facial expression. Let's see. Right there. That's it. That's all of us right there. Yep. What? I think it's so good that they're getting out the gangbangers who are always just banging gangs, and I don't like it. And the 10% tariff is good because it brings in a lot of revenue, but also it doesn't because it doesn't increase prices, and because no U.S. companies, because China's eating the tariffs, but also because it also brings in a lot of revenue. But where's the revenue coming from? I don't really know. It comes from, I guess, it comes from the companies. So anyways, I hate Harvard too. Right. That's something else. Batya. All right, y'all want to get something that's really something else? The Social Security Commissioner, Frank All right, I'm going to give this a try, this last name. Biznano? I don't know. We'll learn together. I don't know this last name. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to. I just sometimes the brain doesn't want to.
Bisignano.
Okay. But good. But Frank here. Can I call you Frank? Can we do that? Okay, let's do Frank. Frank admits during a staff meeting obtained by ABC News that he didn't even know what the position was. And listen, first of all, he sounds drunk. I'm not saying he is drunk. He sounds drunk. I'm not claiming that he is, but he sounds it. And so he this weird sound of voice, and then he goes, "Oh, I had to Google what the Social Security Commissioner even was." But we're supposed to be concerned with DEI? DEI was the problem, but then you're putting Frank B into this position? Frankie B!
And it's about Social Security, and I'm really not. I swear I'm not looking for a job. And I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? So I'm Googling Social Security. One of my great skills. I'm one of the great Googlers on the East Coast.
I'm a great Googler. Now, Frank's being funny, and I actually appreciate that humor. He said I'm one of the best Googlers on the East Coast. That's funny. Okay, wait.
Legalize comedy.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm glad that Elon single-handedly saved the ability to do comedy because now Frank can drop bars like that. But yeah, it gets worse.
But that is the headline for the Post. Great Googler in chief.
All right, so that's called beating a dead horse in the comedy world. No, I'm kidding. But all right.
Chief and Googler or whatever. By the way, I like to have fun at work. We're allowed to laugh. We're allowed to have fun. We're allowed to know each other's families. We're allowed to be normal. How's that?
We're allowed to have sex with each other. We have fun. We just have fun. You don't have to tell HR. Don't worry about it. Just keep it between you or all of you. Just whatever happens, happens. You know what I mean?
I'm like, what the heck's the Commissioner of Social Security? First, nobody said we're calling you if it was about Social Security, so I'm trying to figure it out.
I had to Google what the Social Security Commissioner was, so I'm trying to figure it out. The most qualified, I guess. New head of Social Security hired from Wall Street tells staff he had to Google the job when he was offered it. And that they get to have fun at work. I added that part. That's not in the article. The new head of the Social Security Administration says that they're going to have staff sex parties. What the heck? No, that's not. ABC News, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know why they're reporting now. The newly sworn-in head of the Social Security Administration told agency staff this week that when he was first offered the job in the Trump administration, he wasn't familiar with the position and had to look it up online. Frank, a former Wall Street executive, said during a town hall with Social Security managers from around the country on Wednesday that he wasn't seeking a position in the Trump administration when he received a call. So I get a phone call, and it's about Social Security. And I'm really not. I swear I'm not looking for a job. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? So I'm Googling Social Security. Wait, do you not even know Social Security? One of my great skills, I'm one of the greatest Googlers on the East Coast. Funny. What the heck's the Commissioner of Social Security? Put that as the headline for the Post. Great Googler in chief. Chief and Googler, or whatever. That's a bummer. I think he heard the original I'm good at Googling. When you're in a social setting and someone makes a joke and they're like, and then my car wouldn't start. And everyone's like, ah, and you kind of see in their face like, oh yeah, this feels good. No, this feels good. Yeah. And then I tried to start it again. It wouldn't start again. And people are like, okay. Like, and then I closed the door and opened it. I tried to start again. It didn't start again. And then I'm just like, oh gosh, this is so embarrassing. Like you could have left it at the first one. I've never done that. No, other people do this at social gatherings, okay? And that's what happened here, I think, where he made the original Social Security or the Googling remark and then doubled down on it like 6 times. I'm the great Googler in chief. Chief and Googler. You can just say, I pronounce you Googler and wife. But anyways, so this Wall Street guy who's going to be overseeing the dismantling of Social Security, we're seeing Social Security offices get closed, etc., is admitting he doesn't know what the heck the job is. We have to do a little bit of a shorter show today. I appreciate all of you. I love all of you, and I'll talk to you next time.